Good afternoon, 45 Alpha Charlie Papa channel. This is the old gunsmith coming to you one more time. Today we're going to change things up a little bit. What we've been doing up to now is introducing you to some of the basic tools of the gunsmithing trade and how they're used. Rather than continue on boring you to death with that as we get into specialty tools, I thought we'd change over and we'd start actually doing some easy projects. Projects you want to may do to your guns. We started that off with a project we did with the Dreiseman's gun. We had recrowned it. You may have seen that video. If not, it should be available there on YouTube. There's some special tools that are needed for that, and we showed you how to use them. Today I'm kind of excited because I just got my hands on a gun I've wanted for years and I've never worked on or owned one before. This is the Remington Model 8. It was the very first successful semi-automatic sporting rifle that was ever made available to the public, and it sold a lot of units. It was the first successful semi-auto. They came in a variety of calibers. That's even better. They came in a variety of calibers, and the problem with this one is that we don't know what caliber it is. First of all, I've never worked on one, so I don't know how these are taken apart any more than most of you probably do. And the other problem is it is marked right up here, and it says this is a 2535 Remington. So I ran over to my handy dandy computer, and this goes back to something we did in I think our very second video, where we talked about the most important tool on your bench may well not be on your bench. It may well be that computer sitting on your table, or it's sitting, you know, it's over my shoulder, in your library. So I can go over to the computer and I can look up that caliber and say, what in the world is a 3525 Remington? Well, sure enough, Wikipedia comes up and it tells me that the 2535 Remington was a cartridge that was an experimental round. Oh goody, we have a gun, an experimental cartridge that we're never going to be able to get ammunition for? No, not quite. What happened is somewhere down the line, they decided that rather than make that, they were going to make the 25 Remington, which was based on the 30 Remington, which was based on the 35 Remington, all the same family of cartridges. So why would they mark this 2535 Remington if in fact it's a 25 Remington? Well, according to what I have found doing some research online, they made some parts, they stamped them before they made the decision, and the first guns they made are going to be marked 2535 Remington. But nonetheless, we want to be absolutely certain of what caliber this gun is before we go start shoving ammunition into it and pulling the trigger. So we're going to show you how that's done today. So first problem that we come up with is, how in the world do we take this gun down? Well, if we go to our library, hopefully, you will have the NRA official guide to firearms assembly for rifles and shotguns. They also have one for handguns. It costs $25 each. And if we go over to page 154, we will find that we have the beginning of a exploded drawing for the Model 8 and 81 Remington, and instructions on how to take them apart. Wonderful! So now we lay that down on our bench so it doesn't get away. And we look at it and say, disassembly. Press the safety, 26 down. There it is. Does that look like a lot like an SKS safety to you? There are very few things in the firearms industry that are truly revolutionary and new, and the SKS safety ain't one of them. This piece was designed by an obscure little gunsmith that you probably never heard of from Ogden, Utah, named John Moses Browning. That's the guy. Made the Auto 5 shotgun. Same recoil system. It's a long recoil operated mechanism, and it works. So, okay, we've got our safety down. And retract the operating handle. That would be this. And there's a lock right here on the side. Push that up as the handle's back and it locks the gun open. Unscrew the fore-end screw and remove the fore-end. Okay, we can do that. That's got a little like sling swivel on it here. So I don't know if that was meant to be a sling swivel or if it was just meant to be easy to take the fore-end down, because there's no sling swivel on the back. Swing swivel. All right, that comes off. Here's the fore-end. And we find this strange little thing here that was tucked up in there. It comes down and we unscrew it. We've got our own wrench. Isn't this cool? 1908, and they were designing firearms with their own tools internally. I think that's very clever of John Browning. And I'm sure that John Browning would have been really happy to know that I cared one way or another that he was a clever man. Okay, so we get this unscrewed and we pull this down and forward. It says down and forward. There it is. Now we have the receiver section and the barrel. One of the things you'll notice about the barrel is that it's quite heavy, or it looks quite heavy. It's really not. This is a barrel jacket. If you're familiar with the 88 commission rifle, Mauser commission rifle, an 8mm that was used by the Germans in World War I before the 98, this is the commission rifle, it had a barrel jacket too. Not exactly sure why they thought that was a really good idea, but back there around the turn of the 20th century, here you go. They thought that was good. So what we have now is we've got the barrel off the gun, and we really don't need to take it down any further to do what we want to do. What we want to do is make a chamber cast. To make a chamber cast, you get a material called Safe or low melt alloy. I think this melts at about 165 degrees. So it's not terribly hot and it's fairly easy to work with. So what we're going to want to do is, let me put all these parts in the same place to where I'll find them again when I need them. So what we're going to do is we want to come up into the barrel with something to plug the barrel, and then we will pour the molten low melt alloy into the chamber until it fills the chamber. We'll let it set and we'll pop it out. So we need a cleaning rod, and we will need somewhere in here I should have a patch or two. And we'll want to take a cleaning patch and run it up that bore. Oh, barrel just disappeared on me. And of course we don't want to push it all the way through. What we want to do is we'll look in here and we'll watch that patch come up the bore until it's just past the throat and into the rifle. And we can readjust it by coming in from this side and pushing it back down a little bit. There we go. And as a matter of fact, we can take another patch from this end. Sorry, wasn't holding that up high enough, was it? Was I? Was it? Whoever. I'll put one in from this side too. What I want to do is, it's not as heavy as lead. The low melt alloy isn't as heavy as lead, yet nonetheless, we do want to make sure we have a fairly tight fit so it doesn't come crashing home on us. Now we'll go over to the bench vise and we'll put the barrel in the vise, and I've got padded jaws on it so that we're not going to scratch the barrel, and we also don't want to tighten it too tight because we could collapse that jacket. We certainly don't want to do that. Then we come up and we get our low temperature alloy. This came from Brownells. I'm sure there's other places you can get it, but if you've got a Brownells catalog, it's so handy that you end up buying all your stuff from there. A regular propane torch and you heat the low temperature alloy up until it melts. Pretty high-tech stuff, huh? This will take just a minute or two. We've got that thick ladle there, and that's got to heat up. Once that heats up, it'll keep the alloy melted for a long time. And there we go, it's starting to melt now. And once it's all good and liquid, we're going to come over here and we're going to pour it into the chamber. Until it reaches the top. Then we've got a nice steel block here where that won't transfer the heat, even though it's not all that terribly hot. Still, we don't want to put that down on something where it's going to burn. Now all we have to do is wait for this to set up, and then we will push out the cartridge plug thing. We'll push out our casting and see what we've got. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Roberto. We'll take this out of the vise. Grab hold of our cleaning rod. Whoa! A bit too enthusiastic, perhaps. Unus momentus, I'll be back on the price. There we go. There we are. I'm terribly sorry about the earmuffs with the boom mic on it. I always think that looks like guys trying to be important. It's the only mic I got. If you notice that the Dreiser man isn't here today, the Dreiser man isn't here because the poor slob is working. I make sure he goes to work so that he they deduct his Social Security, so they send me my checks because I'm retired. Anyway, here's our casting. This is what we made out of the low temperature alloy. This is the casting from our bore. And now we need to find out what do we have. To find that out, we'll need a pair of calipers. And once again, we run to our handy dandy computer, and we look and we find all of the specs on the 25 Remington cartridge. So this tells us that the 25 Remington dimensions, the bullet diameter is 259, and maybe we should zero this, huh? The rim diameter is 422. I'm showing this at 424, but there may have been some expansion there as it came out over the top. The base diameter is 422. Also, the neck diameter is 287. I've got 289. Case length is 2.05. And we try and find this where it just entered the bore, and it is 2.054. Right there. So we can be 99 and 100% sure that what we have here is a 25 Remington round. Now I can go and buy ammunition, or I can buy bullets and cases and a loading die set from somebody like Graff & Sons, who I've checked and does carry it, or Buffalo Bullets. They also, I think it's Buffalo Bullets, also carries the dies if you want to mold your own dies. Molds if you want to mold your own bullets. They carry the brass. I think their brass is from Jameson. And they'll, of course, have reloading dies also. I think Lyman has got some dies. I didn't see any from Lee, which, of course, is the least expensive. But nonetheless, the components are available. You just have to go out and shop them a little bit. So now we double check to make sure our bore is clear, because we wouldn't want to put it back together and throw a bullet down our brand new gun. New to us, anyway. Reassembly is just as simple as it can possibly be. And close the bolt. Wish I hadn't worked on one of these before. Put our safety back on, and the job is done. We have a perfect casting of the chamber of our Model 8 Remington, and we've measured it with our caliper, another tool we showed you. We found out all the information we needed to know about how to do the job from our library and the computer, and we also went to the computer and got our data on the cartridge dimensions so that we could measure it and identify what we have. So anytime you come home with a gun that you're not sure what it is, if you've got low melt alloy, a propane torch, a computer, and a measuring device like a dial caliper or a digital caliper, you can identify that round. This is 45 Alpha Charlie Papa, the old gunsmith, talking to you one more time. And instead of singing Happy Trails, I'll sing you the second verse. How's that? Some trails are happy ones, others are blue. It's the way you drive the trail that counts. Here's a happy one for you. Happy trails to you until we meet again.